Hello and welcome to FG Rides. We're in beautiful Pennsylvania, USA, my home state. Love it here. Look, sun and clouds went from darkness to light. Today we're going to talk about the Kawasaki Eliminator. Why am I talking about the Kawasaki Eliminator? From the seat of my beloved Royal Enfield Classic 350. It's because I have a story to share. I was looking at these motorcycles last year before I bought the Classic 350. Now the Classic 350 was definitely on my radar, or a Royal Enfield. I hadn't fully decided which one I was going to go with yet, if indeed I did go with the Royal Enfield. There wasn't much else that I was really jazzed up about among all the manufacturers, except maybe all right, a couple we won't mention right now, but this Kawasaki Eliminator, the SE edition, the orange and the black with the headlights around, I thought that was a looker, and it had a very good riding position. It was not unlike this Classic 350 with the pegs mid-mount, just a little bit forward so that they aren't right under you when you put your feet down, and they aren't in the doesn't look like you're in stirrups, which is a problem with a lot of cruisers. And I honestly don't consider the Kawasaki a true cruiser. It just looks like a really nice motorcycle. And I, of course, watched some video online about them, and the people that reviewed them tended to really like them. Although the one guy I think was kind of a shill. He went on just a little too much, if you know what I mean. So, in the USA, at least in Pennsylvania, the Kawasaki dealerships are on every corner. You know, like bars and churches in Pennsylvania. So it was no problem to see one. Royal Enfield, not the same story. There are, I think, 6 Royal Enfield dealerships in Pennsylvania, maybe 7. I might be missing one, but none of them are close to me. The nearest one is about 100 miles away. So I had looked at the Royal Enfields, but only briefly. I was on a trip with my wife and daughter, and we were going by one of these dealerships, and they indulged me. I wanted to stop and look at them for a minute, and I didn't hold them up too much because after all we were going to someplace else, so I didn't get to study them in detail. But the little I saw, they looked so well built, especially compared to some of the Japanese motorcycles, which are well built, but they don't always convey the highest quality, at least looking at them. But I got roped in by this Kawasaki, the way it looked. I went to see one in person at a dealership that's kind of on the way home from work. I looked at it for a few minutes. I didn't want to look at it too long. These things tend to, you get wrapped up in them, you know what I mean? I do anyway. So there was nobody there, and I was thankful for that. There were no salesmen, nobody at the parts counter. I couldn't find anybody. So I looked at it a little while, and then it started working on my mind. So I went back a few days later. I was going to talk to somebody this time. This is the awful next step. There was nobody there again. I couldn't find anybody. It was like the building was empty, but it was open. You know, and I sat on it and, kind of pretended, went vroom vroom like the mouse in the motorcycle. If you're familiar with that book, Ralph makes his motorcycle go by going vroom vroom. Anyway, what am I talking about? I'm blithering on like an idiot. Oh, by the way, we're on Route 42 in Pennsylvania, not far from Eaglesmere, a beautiful town. So in the meantime, after I made this second stop rather, I decided to look at the Royal Enfields again. Stayed away from the Kawasaki dealership. I had decided, yeah, gonna buy a Royal Enfield. And then I wasn't sure which one, but ended up with the Classic 350. Wonderful decision. I'm bragging, I guess. Where did that go? I'm gonna let this guy go by me. Please, go ahead. He waved. I love that. I love when people wave. It gives me hope. Bought the Royal Enfield Classic 350. My battery died last week or the week before, and I had just ridden the thing. And I guess that's how these Enfield batteries do. They're fine, blah, gone. So I decided, since this dealership was the most convenient as far as where I go, I live in the middle of nowhere, but when I come home from work, this is the most convenient place to stop. I stopped to buy a battery. And when I went in, I went over to the row of Eliminators and looked at the SE, and I saw that it was marked down $950. And I thought, this is summer, and this is a relatively new model. Why would it be marked down $950? And I looked at the other ones, the base model and the ABS model. They were marked down $950 too. And they have these things right at the front of the showroom window, so I would look in on it every time I passed for all these months. I went back to the parts counter. There was somebody there. Well, I rang a bell, and he showed up eventually. Kind of a young guy, maybe in his early 20s. And he got me the battery, and I said to him, I said, aren't the Eliminators selling very well? I see they're marked down. He said, we haven't sold any. I said, you haven't even sold one? He said, no. Nobody wants them. He said, I think somebody looked at one once, but that was it. I said, have you ever ridden one? Yeah, I hadn't ridden one, you know. I said, have you ever ridden one? He said, nah. I said, I wouldn't ride that. It's a beginner's bike. That's a beginner's bike. It has 50 horsepower. It's a real motorcycle. Nah, I wouldn't ride it. It's a beginner's bike. He says, you really need something bigger. I can't believe this. Now, I have a friend that I discussed this with, this thing with. I assume it's, yeah, this is the right road. I assume it has something to do with ego or image or something, that people feel they need these gigantic motorcycles, at least here in the USA. I mean, they're just going out themselves. They got a bike that weighs 800 pounds. And, you know, an 1800cc engine. It's phenomenal. And we also discussed, this friend of mine and I, that the most fun we've had on motorcycles, the motorcycles we've owned, has always been lower displacement motorcycles. They're lighter, usually, except for this thing. This thing's 430 pounds. And it gains quite a bit when I climb on it. But yeah, there we go. There's a couple of big pigs. These motorcycles, hogs. They call, that's it. Not pigs, hogs. Harleys. Yeah, they call Harleys hogs. I should know this, being deeply embedded in the American motorcycle culture as I am. Don't even like to talk about it most of the time. So. Anyway, I will say, on the way out, after buying my battery, I looked at it again. I got on it. I took a few photos. So the photos you see, except for I'm going to put a stock photo on when I begin talking about it, a stock Kawasaki photo, are of the actual motorcycle. This is the same motorcycle I was looking at last fall, last October, maybe even late September. It's been sitting there ever since on the showroom floor, along with the other two, which I'm not that interested in, the base model or just the ABS. They just don't look as good. I could understand if they didn't sell any of those, but not the SE. At $72.99, which was the original MSRP, I don't know how much that played into it. Maybe people thought $72.99 was a bit too much for a 500, and it's actually a 450. But I kind of examined it, looking for reasons why, and I noticed just in comparison to my Enfield that things looked kind of chintzy. A few things, or like the ABS, or not the ABS, the USB port is on a box, is in a box on a bracket attached to the handlebar, and it looks like somebody from high school shop class turned out this bracket. I mean, somebody who's brand new to high school shop class. And the box looks ridiculous. Again, I'll throw pictures. But I thought, well, that wouldn't be a deal breaker. It wasn't a deal breaker for me before, but I hadn't really thought about it. I think about it more after riding this and seeing the beautiful attention to detail. Where the bars attach, the fasteners look chintzy too. They look like single-use items. I don't know whether that's enough. The muffler is a little out of place too. I don't know what the point of making that muffler like that was. Maybe they were constrained by some practical reason. I don't know, but the thing is a great 10-footer. You don't get too close to it. It looks fantastic. And according to the people I see on YouTube that ride them, review them, apparently it rides really well too. The all-year motorcyclist, he reviewed one, the Eliminator, and boy, he really liked it. Of course, that guy, he seems to love everything. Everything's splendiferous, so he makes me laugh. I like him. I like him with his Mickey Mouse mirrors. So, I don't know. I don't know whether it's that or the fear of being called a bad name, being made fun of, let's say, by your friends with their 800-pound cruisers or their leader bikes, their super sport leader bikes. I don't know. But yeah, I don't get it. We're going to an overlook today. Hope this is the right road. Yeah, this is it. I've never been here before. I saw it when I was studying Google Maps, as I am wont to do from time to time. Heading out here to actually do my 500-mile owner review. I'm at 496.1. So I think it'll be just about perfect. I don't want to have to call it my 498-mile owner review. I'll fudge it. I'll be optimistic like the speedometer on this. The speedometer is sometimes wildly optimistic. That'll be part of the review, by the way. Alright, look for that video. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Yeah, comment especially. If you have any experience with this new Eliminator, or you have some thoughts about this need for large displacement motorcycles, especially here in the USA. Again, I don't know how it is in other parts of the world. All right, thank you. Till next time. Bye-bye.